Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. In this video, we're going to talk about First Certificate Speaking Part 1. During the video, there are some great tips on how to do Part 1 speaking and some questions that you get to answer yourself. And remember, if you're studying for a Cambridge exam or you want to know any more about it, I highly recommend subscribing to Home Studies. And I invite you to turn on the notifications so you don't miss any new videos and give us a like. Today we're going to be talking about the FCE Speaking exam. Now, the FCE Speaking is an important part of the exam and, in my opinion, the easiest part to pass well if you know what you're doing. In this video series, I'll explain each part of the exam, tell you what the examiners are looking for, and give you some tips on how to do your absolute best in each part. Remember, the speaking exam is worth 20% of your overall score, and it's the part which you can use not just your English, but also your personality and your body language to shine. So let's start with how it all happens. So you do the exam in a pair or in a three. The only way there'll be a three if there are an uneven number of candidates, so one set will be a three. But don't worry, you will know about this before the exam and you'll also know who your partner or partners are. There are two examiners. One examiner speaks to you and guides you through the exam and asks you questions, and the other examiner sits to the side and makes notes and assesses your English. So there are four parts to the speaking task. Part 1 is an interview, Part 2 a long turn, Part 3 a collaborative task, and Part 4 a discussion. Let's go into a little more detail about those. So in Part 1, the examiner asks you and your partner some questions about yourselves, and we're going to look at the types of questions you'll be asked in this video today. In Part 2, the examiner gives you two photographs and asks you to compare them and answer a question about them for about a minute. Then the examiner asks your partner a question about your photographs and your partner responds briefly, up to about 30 seconds. Then you swap over and you do the same again with your partner comparing the photographs and you answering a question. Part 3. This is a discussion with your partner. You'll be given 5 written prompts and asked to discuss a question for about 2 minutes. Then the examiner will give you 1 more minute to make a decision together, which is related to what you've been discussing. And Part 4, the examiner will ask you some further questions which lead to a more general discussion of what you talked about in Part 3. You may comment or expand on your partner's answers if you wish. The speaking exam in pairs is about 14 minutes long, with parts 1 and 2 being about 2 to 3 minutes each, and parts 3 and 4 being 3 to 4 minutes each. So in this video, we'll focus on part 1, the interview. This part of the video allows you to test your ability to answer questions about yourself, and it gives you the chance to relax and warm up before the more difficult parts of the exam. Now, here's an examiner's secret. In this part, we're making sure we do what we can to relax you and make you feel comfortable so you can do the exam calmly. Examiners are also trained in how to be friendly and approachable so that the candidates feel at ease. We want you to pass as much as you do. Firstly, it might sound simple, but how you enter the room matters. Examiners are humans too, remember? And whilst we have to stick to the script for consistency, we respond to hello, good morning, and we love to see a confident smile when you enter the room. So you've entered the room and sat down. Let's see what happens next by looking at the script given to the examiners. They'll follow this perfectly. Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Gina and this is my colleague Natalie. And your names are? Now don't worry about what order to answer. The examiner will look at you to respond and it will be obvious. And no need for any fireworks here. A simple I'm Gina or my name is Gina is perfect. Next they'll ask you for your mark sheets, and this is a piece of paper you'll be given before the exam which the watching examiner will write your scores on. The examiner will say, "Can I have your mark sheets?" Don't forget to smile. And you can hand over your mark sheets with a "Yes, of course," or "Here you are." Next, we move on to a basic question. Where are you from, candidate A? It's nice to extend this answer for a couple of seconds. For example, I live in Syracuse, but I'm originally from the UK. Or, I live in my hometown of Kirby Moorside, which is about 25 miles north of York. Then the examiner will say, "And you?" to the other candidate, and they'll answer the same question. So, phew, you've probably taken a few deep breaths now, seen how nice the examiners are, and dropped your shoulders back down from up around your ears. Now you'll be asked a few more questions about some topics that we'll look at. The first topic is your town. This is usually the town where you're living. Your daily life, education or work, family and friends, travel and holiday, entertainment, free time, sports, and the future. On the left we have the topics, and on the right we have some example questions from part 1. I invite you now to pause the video. Can you match the questions to the topic? Pause the video, match the questions to the topic, and when you're ready to check the answers, press play. Off you go. Let's check those answers. How did you do? Now let's have a look at how we can answer the questions in the best way. We'll start with the first question. Tell me a little bit about your family. So which answer do you think is best? A. We're quite a small family. In my house there are only 3 of us, me, my boyfriend and my cat. We rescued my cat Lyra last year and she really is an integral part of the family. B. There's just me and my boyfriend in my house, but he's got 3 brothers. Oh, let me tell you about one of the brothers' wives. She had a big argument with the other brother's wife and they haven't spoken in 5 years. C. There are 3 of us. Well, hopefully you can see that the best answer is A. B is too much information. We want to keep the conversation light and neutral and not too informal. And C is the opposite of B. We need some more information. So my students often ask me, but how can I answer these questions? And I always say, answer with an extra, like this. What's your favourite colour? Blue, because I love the sea and the sky. How old are you? 34. I'll be 35 in March. Is there anything you'd like to do in the future? Yes. I'd love to be able to speak fluent Spanish and travel around South America. My dream is to go to Argentina. My grandmother is originally from there, so it would be nice to see her homeland. A little tip. Most of the questions in part 1 are in the present tense, but if you do hear one in the future or past, make sure you respond in the correct tense. I always like to remind students that if the answer is in the negative, that's absolutely fine, but make sure you add an extra as to why. So, for example, do you prefer travelling by plane or train? To be honest, neither. I much prefer travelling by bike, then I have the freedom to go where I want without scheduling. Or another question, where do you like listening to music? Actually, I don't have a specific place I listen to music. I listen to music mainly when I'm happy, so that can be anytime or anywhere. Now listen to this question and this answer. How much exercise do you take each week? I go running 5 times a week and run at least 5 kilometers each time. I'm very dedicated to my fitness. This isn't quite true for me, but it doesn't matter. The examiners are listening for the quality of your speaking and not the content. If you say you went to the cinema last week or you go running every morning, no one is fact checking. It's important to use good English, not to tell the 100% truth. A little white lie won't hurt this. A great way of practicing speaking is to record yourself. This might sound scary, but it's only you who will hear it, and it's the best way to listen to your pronunciation, intonation, and fluency. Why don't you record yourself answering the questions now and play it back? See how natural and relaxed you sound and see what you could improve on. So I invite you to go back to the slide with the example questions. Choose a couple of the questions and record yourself answering them, then play them back. When you've finished, press play and listen to some of my example answers. What do you think would be the most interesting job to do? I think the most interesting job to have would to be an astronaut, because imagine being able to fly through the stars and see all the planets. And if I were an astronaut, I'd definitely be on the lookout for some aliens. What is your favourite part of the day? Why? So my favourite part of the day is dusk, when the sun sets, because where I live you can see the sunset and it's absolutely beautiful. It sets down over some mountains and then the sky goes orange and pink. Yeah, and it's absolutely lovely. And I prefer it to dawn because dawn is a little early for me. What is the best way to spend a free afternoon in your town? So the best way to spend an afternoon in my town is at the beach, because the sun isn't so strong but it's still lovely and warm. So if I were you, I would head to a bakery, buy a panino, a nice sandwich or some bakery stuff, get a nice cold lemonade or a bottle of water and go and sit at the beach for the afternoon, and you'll be the most relaxed you've ever felt. When you have some free time, where do you prefer to spend it? So that really depends on the time of year. So in summer, I love to spend my free time outside, usually at the beach and in the water. And in winter, I actually prefer to stay at home and curl up on the sofa with a nice book and a cup of tea. So it really depends on what time of year it is. With this video, we're including a free PDF download with some example Part 1 questions for you to practice with. Here are some ideas of how to practice. You can ask your home studies teacher for tips, help and advice. You can record yourself answering the questions and then listen to them back. You can look up example exams on websites like YouTube. There are plenty of them. You can ask a friend or family member to ask you the questions. And my favourite idea, you can print out the PDF, cut up the questions and use them in a game with English-speaking friends to get to know them. Thank you so much for watching our video and we hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you next time.